Second one.
This is the second one.
This is his first day on the cow. He's ready.
Dada. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Oh, baby. Oh.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So it has been literally nearly 2 years or a little over 2 years since I posted a video on this channel. So I'm really just making this video for my OG subscribers. No one who's gonna watch this. But I wanted to talk about so many things. I wanted to update you with my life, and I wanna keep this whole community going as much as I can. And also introduce our 5th born child. I posted on Instagram and I was like, what is this child? You know, I didn't tell anybody the gender. It was a surprise gender to me. I'm like, you guys, is it a boy or girl? I put up a poll, which is like so entertaining. You just care less and less when you have so many kids. And so many people were like, boy, 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 girl, girl, girl. And it's like hilarious when you post a picture of a baby's face and like 1,000 or more people are like guessing the gender. So I wanted to introduce the baby. I wanted to talk about homeschooling. This is our 5th born baby. He's asleep in the wrap. If you followed me at all on this channel for a long time, you know I'm a psychopath, okay? I would like to come on this channel and be like, I've got him crib trained. I mean, he's only 7 weeks, which I don't think most people do that, but I would like to say this baby sleeps in a bassinet and I put him down and I'm not psychotic, but it just is not turning out for me to be that way. He's on me all the time in the wrap. I have severe back issues, the whole thing, but I just don't care because they're so cute and I can't bear to hear my baby cry. I don't know why that is. I know some people say it's a natural instinct, but I think I'm partially insane. So anxiety, I don't know. So anyways, this baby is a boy. I know, obviously it's a boy. He's wearing like a penguin outfit. He doesn't have a bow on. And his name is Bennett Charles Johnson. So let's rewind a little back. We did not find out the gender, what the heck, can't speak, gender for this baby. I think I mentioned that. But we did for the first 4 children. And so I didn't want to find out the gender. Doug wanted to, but he didn't really care. So I was like, we're not going to find out because we have 3 girls and a boy. So our first 2 are girls, then we had a boy, then we had the 4th one was a girl. And I was just mentally preparing myself to basically have my boy, Oliver is his name, he's 4 now, surrounded by 4 girls. Now there's nothing wrong with that. People talk all the time about, what do they call it, gender, like people make up names for everything, but it's like, it's not this, but it's like, you're sad because you wanted a certain gender and you got pregnant and it's not the gender. So I have 2 sets of friends, or multiple friends actually, but I have 2 sets of friends. One of them has 4 girls and a boy. The other one has 4 boys and a girl. And I could imagine they were let down. Now I'm speaking for them, but I know one of them for certain was like, oh my gosh, I'm having another boy, probably because she has 4 boys and it is insane. So I was coping in my mind. And so because of that, this child was Lucille. Okay, this child was a girl. And when people asked me for 9 months, it sounds more dramatic than it was, but I mean, you get really hormonal towards the end there. And so I just was like, oh my gosh, he's going to be surrounded by so many girls. So when people ask me, like my neighbor, for instance, my 80-year-old neighbor, she's like, is it a boy or girl? And I'm like, well, I'm sure it's a girl. I don't know for sure, but I'm sure it's a girl. And the child's name is Lucille. So the child was supposed to be Lucy or Lucille for 9 months. And then when I had him, he came out and I mean, it was like, I think that if you had a big imbalance in your family, like only you would know, because when he came out a boy and they said it's a boy, Doug starts bawling, all right, because he had a brother and Oliver's such a boy's boy. He likes NASCAR, he likes monster trucks. And so for a long time, I just watched him play his own stuff by himself, which is ridiculous because if I had a girl and a boy, no one would say anything. But it's like every time I left my house, I'd get comments like, oh, they would say something annoying, like, oh, poor boy, he's surrounded by so many girls, or just, you know, something that alluded to the fact that he is going to be alone, or he's going to have to deal with a lot of emotional distress because of all his sisters, which is all true. And so that's annoying. And so I was just prepping myself. And so when he came out a boy, Doug, obviously, he loves his son. He wants his son to play with another boy. It's not necessary. And I know how that sounds as irrational and ungrateful and selfish. I know all the thoughts and all of the realness of that. But he starts like crying, and I'm crying, and I usually feel nothing after I have a child because I have epidural and I'm on drugs. So I look at him and I tell him, the first thing I say is, "Are you kidding me? I don't believe it. Show me the wee-wee." That's what we call it. Okay, TMI. But I look at him and I'm like, it's a boy. And I tell Doug, we can never be, which is ridiculous because it's not going to happen, but we can never be, what did I say? We can never complain about anything in our life because we got a second boy. Like, we can never complain about anything in our life, ever, 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 which will not happen. I've already complained 10 times this morning about something, and he wants to be a little squiggly worm here, coming out of his cocoon. But yeah, so we found out it's a boy, and was in utter shock because this was Lucy, okay, Lucille, for like 9 months. His name is Bennett because we, Doug and I, if you follow us, we're very type B people, and we just ChatGPT boy names that are kind of like, they go with Annabelle, Oliver, Scarlett, and Jane, very classic names, and Bennett kind of was like new age, but classic, I don't know. And we don't know anyone named that. So we call him Benny, we call him Ben, Bennett. We don't call him actually anything besides Mr. Pickle, which is so TMI and like a very inside family thing, but we're freaking weird, okay? So he's just perfect. He's fat. He's the biggest baby. Something that I wanted to rant on today is medical interventions. I'm turning straight crunch mom more and more by the day. So with our firstborn, I've done all these videos, all the birth vlogs and all the birth stories on this channel. Not that you'd want to watch old stuff, but the first child, Annabelle, who's almost 9 this next month, she had an emergency C-section, fetal distress. She was really small, 5 pounds, 14 ounces. I think it's because I had like a weird virus, and I looked it up. There was no AI 9 years ago, but I looked it up and it was like, your baby's going to be small. And it turned out she was small, which is wild. Mother's intuition. And so I had VBACs for the last 3. So I wasn't worried. Like, all my 3 VBACs before him were totally, chill. I am not so crunched to where I give birth naturally. Although if I had 6, which, we'll talk about that maybe another video. I don't know. If I had any other children for whatever reason, because God deemed it that way, I probably wouldn't have an epidural after the experience I've had with him. I've had epidurals every other time since, and I don't feel like the extra pain. And I've just, I had my first child when I was 24 years old. I got pregnant when I was 23, so I was so young, and I just went along with the medical advice given to me. So anyways, that's kind of like how I had hospital births, and I just said, forget it. I don't need to learn about like the Bradley method or like, hypnobirthing. I run a business with my husband. My kids are always with me. There's only so much space in my brain to care about everything. And so I don't really see it as affecting my child, although I know people say it puts your baby on drugs. I've had fine babies, whatever. Okay, we're not going to go there. It's very controversial. Like the epidural is what I mean. Anyway, so I just always have just gone to the hospital, had the epidural, did the VBAC. No, I don't like medical interventions. No, I don't like unnecessary cervical checks in your third trimester. I don't like pretty much 90% of the stuff that happens. I should be birthing at home with like my convictions or beliefs. They're not really convictions, obviously. And so I just kind of go along with it. And I'm like, whatever, I can't be crunching everything. I'm just fatigued in life, or I have so many kids. So that bit me in the butt almost, but God literally blessed us. And so I want to talk about like what happened. Turns out I was 7 days late. So when my OB, who's like head OB, very traditional doctor, medicine woman, right? She's like, pick an induction date. I'm like, I've never been induced. I'm always late, but I don't go that late. And I'm like, how late are you going to let me go? She's like, let's just say 7 days. You're not going to need it. And I'm like, okay, 7 days. I'll go 7 days. I'm just picking bippity boppity 7 days because I don't think I'm going to be induced. They say the babies come quicker and quicker and quicker, and it gets closer to your due date or even before your due date as you have more kids, which is not the truth for me. So I end up having really bad, I think I'm going to mispronounce this, but prodromal labor. If you had one child, you'll know that you have Braxton Hicks. So that's like a tightening of the uterus to prepare your body. It's like a workout for your uterus to prepare it to squeeze the baby out or contract the baby out, right? And so I have always had regular Braxton Hicks, but with my fourth baby, this is when you have a lot of kids, weird stuff starts happening. At least that's all my friends have a ton of kids. And so we all know like things can go downhill. It's harder. Okay. So with my fourth baby, I had prodromal labor, which basically it legit is almost like you're in labor, but it was 2 weeks before my fourth born girl, Jane, was born. So I was like in labor. I even called Doug's mom down to come watch our kids 2 weeks, like a psychopath, because it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like super close together, but it was all day long, multiple days in a row. And I'm like, something is off. I have to lay down. This isn't like a Braxton Hicks. I didn't even know what the word prodromal labor even meant. And so she ended up just sitting around. I felt so bad. She was here forever. And then with our fifth baby, I knew what it was because actually Lisa, one of our old students, Farmhouse and Boone, I'm sure a lot of you guys watch her, she's mentioned prodromal labor. I was like, what the heck is that word? I kind of figured out before I got pregnant with him what that was. So when I started having these really intense like Braxton Hicks, which literally mimic labor, I had to like lay on the ground, breathe through them multiple days in a row. It was worse than ever with him. So my body was almost like in a state of labor a week before my due date. And so I was so fatigued. It was like, I could barely function. I mean, and I had 4 other kids. Luckily, my husband is at home with me. We can take a week off here and there from our business. I mean, not really, but we can work odd hours at night or whatever. So he was there to watch all the other kids while I just like breathed through them. And they were all night long. It was like, I always go into labor at night, almost always, and it was all night long. So it was really hard to function, and your body feels like you're running a marathon and you're nowhere near a due date. So this went on the week before my due date and the week after. So I was on day 7 of being past my due date. It was the day of my induction, and I'm like, get the baby out. Like, I don't want to be induced. I don't like Pitocin. I don't like medical interventions, but I am so dead that, I mean, I can barely function. I can't go any longer. Like, what's happening? So she gives me a Foley balloon the day before my induction, which is, no one I knew did this, so I didn't know how bad it was. Horrific, okay? It's like a balloon this size. If you're a nurse or something, you'll know. They stick it up there, and it's the tube is, it's horrible. The tube is attached to your leg with like a piece of tape. I thought I was just going to go in to be checked. And so I had my 73-year-old dad drive me. And he's, you know, like, I don't know, whatever. He gets grossed out by things. So I had him drive me there. I come out, I can barely walk, in so much pain. There's like a balloon inside me to help me dilate naturally, hopefully. It ends up falling out a couple hours later, and I'm like, forget it, just induce me. So they hook me up, Pitocin strong, and his heart rate keeps dropping. So the crazy thing about having birth nowadays is that Doug, or anyone, can take a picture of like the machine and have AI tell you what's happening, and it's exactly what the nurse just said. So you're like way more informed, which is really good, but at the same time, it's a lot of, you're like too informed. So it's like a lot of fear. And so his heart rate kept dropping. The doctor comes in and is like, listen, you might have to have a C-section. And I'm like so mad at myself because I'm like, I do not need a C-section right now. You know, I had an emergency one, which was absolute hell. The recovery was horrible. I had 3 VBACs. Like, why the heck should my 5th baby be a C-section when, you know, I did this to myself. Like, I'm saying so many negative things to Doug at the time. I'm like, I did this to myself. I should have gone, you know, the natural path. I should have done a doula or a midwife. Like, everything's been fine, but this is what I deserve, is what I told me. I know better. Like, I know better. And so, you know, they take me off Pitocin, give me a bunch of water in my IV. So after that, Doug, for the first time, this is just a good story I want to tell, we pray out loud. So Doug and I are sort of like Doug is a new Christian, and I am like newly reformed, whatever you want to call it. I was off the beaten path for years and years, even on this channel. And so now we're just rededicated our lives recently to God, like really last year. And so for the first time in our lives, we pray out loud as a couple. I didn't even know couples did that until maybe a couple months ago, which is really sad. It bonds you more than ever. And so Doug's like, let me pray out loud. And he doesn't even know hardly what the heck Noah's Ark is, okay? Doug's like brand new to the whole Christian faith. So we pray out loud, please God, you know, help for us not to have to help for Haley to not have to undergo the C-section. And so as his heart rate's dropping, it's so like just high emotions, crying, all the things. And so eventually his heart rate goes up. He comes out naturally. And it was because his, well, they said, and I don't know who to trust now, it's because his umbilical cord was short. So I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that, but I don't know. And they said, oh, it's because his umbilical cord is short, not because they pumped me full of drugs and I was being induced. So since then, I've been on this like crazy mission to like look up all the information I can. And I'll actually link an article below about why C-section rates are like skyrocketing because of all this intervention. I already knew this, so it shouldn't be news to me, but yeah, so that's a little story about his birth. He's, in my opinion, like a miracle child. Nothing's wrong with having a C-section. I would have been fine, I'm sure, hopefully. And I already had one, but it's so hard, like emotionally, physically. I have so many other kids to tend to, and God bless, because my friend has had 4 C-sections, and that's so hard. I would never recommend an induction. I would recommend a midwife, but hindsight's 2020, and you do you, because I do love that epidural, but maybe not, you know, the interventions are just, they feel so unnecessary. And I do believe that's why I almost had a C-section, but God just blessed me with a vaginal birth. Thank gosh. Okay. We're adjusting. I wouldn't say great. I mean, right now it's good because it's like he's 7 weeks old, but they're all my kids are 2 years apart. The longer they're apart, though, like one of the age gaps is like almost 2.5. And that's like amazing because the 2-year-old isn't as erratic, but him and our 4th-born Jane are like 1 month over 2 years apart. So she's so small. She's like a baby. And that was a really hard transition. I will say anytime you add on a kid, it is hard. People always ask, how's the transition from 2 to 3? Which is the hardest? In my opinion, it's all hard because there's more people to manage. And I think it's honestly really hard when you have like right now, my kids are almost 9, 7. You're homeschooling them. You have a new baby. You've got like a toddler and a 4-year-old who's almost like a toddler still. And it's just hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it's amazing. It's an amazing blessing. And I want to create a whole other video about what people say to us in public now that we have 5 kids, because that's been like a shock. I think it's because of where we live. But that's pretty much it for like this update. I'm going to try to film another one for you guys on that topic. And yeah, I will see you guys hopefully in the next one. Bye.
Yes. You will like dirt. Yeah,
Dirt.
that's right.
Maybe he likes to sail.
You turn left, and then you go right, and you hold right, and then you straighten
He
up.
says he's not going to like that. He's going to like hockey.
That's how you do that. Yeah, right. He's not going to want
He's going to like rock climbing.
that. I can already tell him and Oliver going to be racing cars all day.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that. Your race car costs just doubled.
Okay.
Doubled.